There's a kind of mental overwhelm that people who have been through trauma know so well. You sit down to work and your mind starts replaying conversations from 5 years ago. Or you lie awake at night, you're trying to plan your way out of something that hasn't happened yet, but it still feels urgent. Or you walk away from a conversation and you spend like the next 4 hours reviewing every word you said. And every weird look they might have given you, you keep thinking. And even when you know this isn't logical, you can't stop. This kind of spiraling doesn't just waste time. It makes you exhausted. It messes with your sleep. It pulls you out of your relationships. It fills your head with fear and resentment, and then it leaves you too burned out to function. So if you grew up with trauma, especially neglect or emotional abuse, this might happen to you a lot. Overthinking is one of the ways that trauma manifests. It's what happens when thoughts and feelings pile up without being processed, especially if you've never had a way to clear them. They don't just disappear, they loop, they build, and over time, they start to take over your attention, your decisions, your sense of what's real. It's not that you're doing it on purpose, but I encourage you to accept that it is still something you are doing. Now, this is important because when a problem is something you are doing, it means it's something, voila, you can change. And I'll show you how. If you've ever spiraled, you know what it's like to lose hours to thoughts that feel important, but that don't lead anywhere. It's not just thinking, it's analyzing, explaining, rehearsing, reworking. You go over the same scenario again and again, and somehow you feel less clear than when you started. So you try to make a decision, and instead of acting on it, you get more stuck. You can't find the right words. You can't see, what's obvious. You start to doubt yourself, not just about the one thing, but about everything. So I have something really helpful to understand here, and it's spiraling into overthinking is called cognitive dysregulation. Yes, it's a form of that. Cognitive dysregulation. I find this so helpful. I like it when there's a name for something. I'm like, okay, it's a thing. It's a disruption in how you manage attention, reasoning, memory, and problem solving. And you lose the ability to prioritize what matters. You try to control something through thought, but it just creates more confusion. And this is not a personality flaw. It's something that happens when your nervous system is dysregulated. When stress keeps you in a state of alert, even when nothing dangerous is happening. And this dysregulation and this hypervigilance are very, very normal things that happen to people who have lived with trauma. The thoughts pile up, the emotions get tangled, and your brain keeps trying to push through it, but it can't. What you experience in that moment isn't clarity. You're trying to get clarity, but you're not getting it. What you're getting is overwhelm. And when you can start to recognize that for what it is, you're in a position to do something different. So I had the worst overwhelm and overthinking of my life after this trauma storm happened over 30 years ago. My mother had just died, or she was about to die. I'd had my heart terribly broken some months before. I was already kind of depressed, and randomly I got attacked on the street. I was beaten quite badly. I had a broken jaw, broken teeth, damaged ear. I was in the emergency room. The doctors there, they did an x-ray, they did a CAT scan. They were like, your jaw's broken, your brain is fine. Here's some codeine, go home. Come back tomorrow and we'll deal with your broken jaw. We don't have anybody here to do it now. But I wasn't fine. I wasn't fine at all. My brain wasn't fine. There was something really wrong. I could not stop ruminating. I was ruminating about the assault. I was ruminating about a whole bunch of things that made me angry. I was having spinning thoughts about how alone I felt and who was going to help me and where was I going to get money. The doctor said I should take 3 months off of work. I mean, I did have a brain injury. My work was like, well, if you want 3 months, we can't guarantee your job and we're not going to pay you during that time. And that just wasn't an option for me. So I took 1 week off and I went back to work. And my spinning thoughts were only getting worse. I started going to my therapist 3 times a week, and we would talk and talk and talk about what happened. And I would leave spinning even harder. We now know talking about trauma isn't always the best thing. It was making me very dysregulated. It was making it impossible for me to process my own thoughts. So I went to the doctor. The doctor gave me benzos, and I started taking those, but I quickly realized that they made me terribly depressed. It was like trapping me inside the spinning and looping that was a result of, this traumatic experience. They didn't diagnose me with PTSD, but they totally would have now. It would have been clear. I think 30 years ago, they were not totally aware that it could happen to anybody, not just soldiers. But I had classic signs of PTSD, and I had classic signs of somebody with an adult trauma that gave them PTSD that then unlocked the vault on all the childhood trauma, and all those symptoms came out. Now, with everything we know about childhood trauma and PTSD, all my symptoms were very, very normal for somebody who had a rough childhood like mine, who got attacked on the street. Like, it totally fits. There was really nothing wrong with me, if you know what I mean. I was having a very normal reaction to these horrible events. But they treated me like I was a medical mystery, like I was just being emotional, like I just needed to get my head together and try. And boy, was that not helpful to me. So I was very hopeless then. And I learned some techniques called the daily practice. I'll tell you about that in a minute. The minute I learned these techniques, it took about 2 weeks before I didn't have this total overwhelming thoughts anymore. I was no longer spinning within just a couple of weeks. Maybe that's not going to be your results. We'll see. I'm going to teach it to you. I'm going to offer it to you. But let me just tell you a little bit more about this. When you're spiraling, you might be in a crisis like I was, even if no one around you can see it. And on the surface, it looks like thinking. It looked like thinking to me. You're sitting still, you're pacing, you're driving, you're working. Eventually, I was very emotionally dysregulated, so people did notice something was really out of place with me. But while I was going through the spinning thoughts, my mind was running full speed. It was circling through fear, anger, regret, panic. It's a downward cycle that feels impossible to interrupt. And you could be looking okay on the outside if you're able to, but eventually that kind of spinning thought is going to start coming out of your verbalizations. It'll start to sound very angry or irrational or difficult for other people to deal with. It scares them really. So you start with one thought, something small, a mistake, a worry, and before you know it, you're predicting disasters, you're rehashing conversations, and you're reliving every failure you can ever remember. It's really coming down on you now. Each thought sets off another one. You can't just kind of go, okay, I'm going to calm my mind now. Everybody's normal person advice no longer applies when you're in a spiral. So you can't rest. You can't focus on anything, one thing at a time. And people sometimes call this rumination or catastrophizing. Have you ever done it? For people who've been through trauma, this can happen very easily and it can really mess up your life. When your nervous system gets dysregulated, your thoughts can follow the same path as your emotions. So your thoughts and your emotions are following this disruption in your body processes, your immune system, your blood flow, your endocrine system. Things are glitching. They're not quite working right. This is why chronic disease is associated with a history of trauma. So things aren't working right, and that sort of triggers it in your emotions and your thinking. They call it flooding. It's too much at once. You're looping. You're not, you're thinking something and it just keeps going round and round, or you're escalating. It's getting more dire, or you're perceiving it as more dire. And the more you try to think your way out of it, the worse it gets. You're cognitively dysregulated. Your thoughts and focus stop responding to reality and start responding to distress in your body. It's like a panic attack. Many of us have had that. It's not crazy. It's not mental illness, but it's too much happening at once for your nervous system to handle. So you lose the ability to accurately sort what's real from what you're worried is real, and what matters from what doesn't matter. And spiraling can leave you unable to work or sleep or connect with people. It can make you say things that you regret, or it can prompt you to withdraw from people completely because that's where it feels safe, I'm not going to hurt anybody. And it can feel there's no way out. That's definitely how I felt when I, was spiraling after my assault. I thought there was no way out. People were looking at me I don't know, I did not feel understood by the experts at all. I think they could have done a better job. Nowadays that we know that PTSD affects people who get attacked on the street and get a head injury, and that a history of trauma in childhood can sometimes really just kind of a big wave of it just starts to, the symptoms will come up. There's nothing to sort of hold them in place anymore. That's how I felt. I felt like I had healthy compartmentalization before that. I suppose sooner or later they have to come out. But the idea that I've heard from some people before that Oh, you have to feel everything. You have to face everything right away. Nothing gets better. I don't think that's true. I think there's a time and a place to face the really hard stuff. But before you know how to regulate, it can really throw you into a spiral. And that's not positive. That's a state that makes it almost impossible to learn or benefit from therapy. So it can feel like there's no way out, right? But there is a way out. And it starts with recognizing what this really is. It's a crisis of dysregulation, and it's something you can learn to interrupt. When you start spiraling, the first goal isn't to, have positive thoughts. People will tell you that. Try to think of something nice. You do try, but it lasts like 5 seconds. It's not something you can control when you're spiraling. So you have to interrupt the thought loop to give your nervous system a chance to relax and reset. So these steps, they don't fix everything in your life. You'll have a chance to do that when you're regulated. These steps, though, can stop the downward pull long enough for perspective to return. Blessed perspective. Just being able to see, there's a red flag. Here's a way that I can move forward today in a relaxing way that makes sense. Like that is everything. Having that makes healing possible. So let me tell you some things that you can do. First, name what's happening. This is what to do when you're spiraling. Name what's happening. Say, I'm spiraling. And naming it separates you from it. It helps you be, part of you is outside the situation going, there's Anna. She's really spiraling. She's having a hard time. I'm spiraling. So it separates you from it, and it reminds you that this is a state of being, but it's not who you are. Second, move your body, stand up, change rooms, step outside. Spiraling thrives on stillness. Movement signals time to change, time to turn the page. And the third thing is to engage your senses. Look around and name 5 real things. Just feel the ground, under your feet, feel the air on your skin, feel the weight of your body in the chair, things like that. This anchors you in the present moment. And the present moment is where your nervous system wants to be. It's trying to help you do your life from the cockpit of the present moment. When you're like out here and out here and out here, nobody's flying the plane and bad things can happen. So number 4 is cross the midline of your body. Do you know about this one? So dysregulation probably has to do with a communication error from the left brain and the right brain. They're not quite functioning together, or they're out of sync. I'm simplifying this tremendously because whatever the science says, what matters is what you can feel and what you can do. To cross the midline of your body, you can take your right hand and touch your left shoulder. Take your left hand, touch your right shoulder, and then right hand to left knee, left hand to right knee. And just doing that can prompt your brain to recalibrate and start talking to each other again from side to side. Another thing you can do is march in place and saying the words left, right, left, right. You'd be surprised how effective that is. Again, it's engaging left and right brain and encouraging them to sync up together. Simple movement helps the brain sync up and calm the racing loop. Number 5 is write and release this huge backlog of thoughts. For this, you can use my daily practice technique, the one that I learned when I was in a desperate state after my head injury. My friend showed it to me, and she invited me to just stay in her apartment and write all night, and I wrote till 5 a.m. I had no idea there was a way for me to feel that much better from something so simple. And I went home, and she said, call me in the morning. You can write as long as you want. I woke up the next morning, I don't know, kind of late, I guess, because I was up so late. I just couldn't wait to write again. I wrote some more, and then I called her and I read her what I wrote, and I had never felt so free in my life. There was something about writing. Well, now we know that writing is a different pathway from speaking. So talking about trauma, if you find that triggering, it gets you kind of worked up and dysregulated, and your heart races and your body's reacting as if the bad memory that you're talking about is happening right now. Try writing. It's very powerful. Yeah, anybody can do it. Kids can do it. People in hospices can do it. I did it when I was in labor with my baby. I did it later when I was going into surgery. It's just something you can use anytime, and I do it twice a day, and you can learn how to do it. If you already know how, this is a time to return to it. But I'll put a link. I have a free course where you can learn exactly how to do it. It's pretty easy, but you have to do it properly to get the effect, and that's why I'm like, I'm not going to teach it to you here. I want you to take the course so I can show you exactly how to do it. There's 25 FAQs too, because when you learn it, you're going to have questions like, wait, why do we say fear and not afraid? And why do we say resentment and not pissed off? And there's reasons for everything. And I want you to learn that so that you can get the relief that I had. I felt great after the first time I did it. And within 2 weeks, I didn't have PTSD symptoms anymore. I was afraid to even tell my doctor because they would have thought I was crazy. My therapist was a little worried about me at first because within about 2 months, I just wasn't depressed anymore. I was tired of talking about the past and my mom and the assault, and I just kind of moved on. And ever since that time, my whole life has had a huge portion of it devoted to helping other people learn how to do that. That's why I'm sitting here in this chair right now, talking to a camera all by myself in a studio, because I care so much about people who need this, who are struggling with all that dysregulation, to have a way out. All right. I'm going to put that free course down in the first line of the description section below this video, and you'll have that to learn and try on your own anytime. All right, number 6 is don't analyze the contents of your spinning thoughts. You'll be tempted to figure it out. Don't. The goal isn't to decide what's true right now or remember it or anything. Like, you want to kind of just like release the extra thoughts and feelings. And you can do that in the daily practice with writing, which may comfort you. You can also have like a separate pad of paper where you're writing down things that you want to be sure to remember. And that will set you free. Okay, you can rest your mind now. Isn't that the fear? Like, something important is here. I don't want to forget. So that's okay. You can jot down a note. And then you get perspective. You do that, and then you meditate for 20 minutes. Very easy meditation, just resting. And you come out of it, and I just dare you not to feel refreshed afterwards. Refreshed and to have more perspective so that you can see what, if anything, needs to be done. All right, number 7 is connect with a real person, not a person on YouTube like me. I am a real person, but I'm not with you right now as you're watching this. Time has passed. We're separated in space. Connect with a person who is in your life, whether it's a therapist or somebody in a 12-step group or a friend. But connecting with a trusted person can break the spell of overthinking. You can talk about something ordinary, like, believe it or not, like talking about the worst thing on your mind is not always the best thing to do in order to feel safer and calmer. So talk about ordinary things. Talk about the flowers, the trees, the weather, the season. A neutral connection helps re-regulate you faster than isolating and faster than talking about all the anxious thoughts that you're having. I don't know about you, but when I get very tempted sometimes when I have a lot of anxious thoughts. I want to communicate them. Usually I'll just start talking to my husband. And he's not that interested in my anxious thoughts. He doesn't want to be anxious about them. So he'll try to say things to kind of help me get perspective on it. I'm just talking about like even mild anxiety, but it doesn't help me connect that well with other people. And there's not always a lot other people can do about it. If there is, there is. And, you can ask people to respond to something. But mostly when I'm venting anxiety, the thing that I really need to be doing is writing that. So I need to stop the loop, and then those thoughts will go away, and I'm fresh, and I'm able to talk about something that's relevant to right now. And that is something that through which I can actually connect to another person and be present with them. When I'm looping on an anxious thought, I'm being very self-centered. Do you see what I mean? I'm not really there. I'm not really in the present time. I'm not really with the person. Each time you stop the loop, even for a minute, you strengthen the part of you that can see what's real and make new choices. Yes, I love choices. I like new choices the best. So I gave you the link to the daily practice in the top row of the description section, right? And you can use that both to calm down in the moment, to re-regulate your nervous system in the moment, and give you long-term resilience against the tendency to get dysregulated. There's a tendency you can start to, train yourself back out of that so you don't have, such an easy tendency to dysregulate. Now stuff starts getting really easy in life. But sometimes you need something very quick, right in the moment. Something happened, you startled, somebody honked at you. You got to get re-regulated real quick. And for that, I have a free download for you called Signs of Dysregulation and Emergency Measures to Get Re-Regulated. And I'll put that in the description section too. And you might have to click the little more button. Do you see that? There's like 2 lines below this video in every video on YouTube. And if you go to the end of the second line, you'll see, there's a little word more, and you click on that and it will open up the full description section. And I'm explaining this a lot because I know a lot of people never realized there's a whole resource area under videos on YouTube. Sometimes it's, credits, or sometimes it's a little time code list, or there's all kinds of things. For me, you're going to find a lot of links to things that you can have, free things that are paid, guidance, how to understand this is not therapy, all that stuff. It's all in there. So spiraling usually starts from something small, a delay, a tone in someone's voice, some small thing, a problem you don't know how to solve, and your nervous system reacts like it's an emergency. That's what's going on. When you've been through trauma, your whole system can stay on alert long after the danger is gone. You might notice it until your thoughts start racing, your chest tightens, you can't let go of one small thing that went wrong. The spiral begins as an effort to control that feeling. That's what it is. You're trying to just figure it out and solve it with your mind. You're not doing something wrong. It's just that the dysregulation is undermining your success. When it's happening, you think if you just replay it one more time, you'll find the missing piece and finally relax. But it just doesn't work that way. Because the problem isn't the situation, it's that your nervous system is struggling to sort the big thing from the little things that you don't need to worry about. And that's blocking you from seeing what is important, what is relevant to this right now. So that's what dysregulation looks like when it's gone cognitive. It's in your mind. It hijacks your focus and it keeps you looping in hope that thinking harder will make you safe. So obviously, you know how it feels. It drains you. It makes the world, just very hard to manage when it's happening. So the work of recovery isn't forcing yourself to be calm. It's learning to notice when you've tipped over into dysregulation and then bringing yourself back before it gets momentum. And each time you interrupt it, you teach your nervous system how to get out. You get better and better at it. It starts to go, here's where my safety is. I like it here. And then it goes there more easily by itself. That's what re-regulation is. Okay. You come back grounded in reality. Each time you interrupt that downward pull, you build evidence that you can rely on yourself. Not because everything in your life is all fixed yet, but because you can stay regulated long enough to choose what happens next. Yeah, that's what strength actually feels like. Not like armor, but like presence. If you like this video, I've got one that you're going to love right here, and I'll see you very soon. And it's hard to perceive accurately what's going on in those moments. Like, what just happened? What's the actual problem? Is it me? Is it the other person? What am I supposed to say?